All right, welcome to our podcast. This is The Plank, and today's our very first podcast, and our very first special guest is the legend, the myth, Mr. Adams.
Welcome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, anytime. So my question is, what made you want to become a school principal?
It's kind of a natural progression. You start out and you want to have influence over young people and try to mold them into productive citizens and community members and parents. And so it starts out small. You start out with a classroom of kids, and over a period of time you think of ways, how can I influence more? So you start out teaching, then you coach, because now you are spreading that influence even further. And then as a building leader, you're able to work with various teachers to continue to influence those kids. So for me, it was just kind of a natural progression of how can I influence the most kids on a daily basis. And I found that as a building leader, it's probably the culmination of that journey for me, in that I get to see 300 kids every day. I eat breakfast with them. I don't really eat the breakfast, but I'm sitting in the cafeteria with them usually in the morning. I sit in the cafeteria with them at lunchtime. And then obviously I have individual meetings throughout the day for various reasons with a lot of different kids. As I look around in here, I don't think I saw you guys in my office very much when you were in middle school.
No.
But occasionally.
No, not me at all.
Yeah, and there's always various reasons why kids are in the principal's office. It's not always because there's a trouble issue or a discipline issue. Many times the kids just needs a friendly ear. They need somebody to talk to. They have something going on at home. They just needed an adult that they trust.
Yeah.
So that's why in my building, the office door is always open, because I'm afraid if I close it, I'm going to miss that opportunity to support or assist or influence that kid that just needs it at that moment.
Yeah. So I also heard that you did middle school coaching, like for high school, for the middle school team.
When I started coaching, I started coaching baseball back in the late 90s, and then took a varsity position in 2000 at Hillsdale, and I coached there through 2011, just baseball. I guess I flirted a little bit with youth football and some middle school football there. When Ken Ziegler left the state, there was an opening at the middle school for a football coach. Mm-hmm. I know the kids. I see them every day. And it was an opportunity to again, influence young people in what I would say the right way.
Yeah.
So I started coaching with Mr. Graham, and that was 2 years of an adventure. And realistically, it's tough to coach kids in your building because you have those interactions with them throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, sometimes you want to get away from some of them, and you can't because you have that obligation and responsibility to coach in the afternoon. So it's a lot easier coaching at the high school and not being in this building all day long than it was coaching middle school, being in the building all day long.
Yeah.
You guys were middle school kids once.
Yeah.
You know how rambunctious and impulsive and
annoying.
I'm not going to say annoying, but just scatterbrained. The impulse takes control over the decision-making process when you're in middle school.
Yeah.
So going back to coaching, you coached Mr. Blanchard, didn't you?
I did coach Mr. Blanchard. He was actually I coached him for 3 years. He was probably one of the best athletes that we've had come through Hillsdale. Great person on top of being a great athlete. He was a two-sport all-stater for us as a senior. He was an all-state shortstop and an all-state quarterback. And our football team that fall had made it to the state semifinals and lost to Madison Heights, like 15-7 or 15-9 or whatever. It was within a score. And then with those same kids, we underachieved all season long. We started the state baseball tournament with a 14-20 record and won 8 games straight and won a state championship. So we literally were 6 games under 500 starting the district tournament on a Tuesday. We gave up 0 runs for the district tournament. In 3 games, we had 3 straight shutouts, and then just kept rolling from there. Won our first ever regional. Got to play Blissfield, who was a 7-time state champ, in the quarterfinals. We beat them 6-1. So we go to Battle Creek. We're in the state semifinals, and just had a couple things go our way. And we were a good team. not a great team.
Yeah.
But to do something special like that, it takes talent, it takes kids that have bought in, and it takes a lot of luck. So I'm never going to underplay. When somebody says, hey, good luck, I'm going to take that, thank you.
Yeah.
Because that was a big part of our run in 2007. And, of course, when you have somebody who is a phenomenal athlete, and he was surrounded by other athletes. We actually had 6 guys that went on to play college athletics off of that team, and 5 of them played college football. So really, the only 2 that played baseball was Scott Lannis and Mr. Blanchard. He dual sported at Hillsdale College. All the other kids just played football. So that was kind of we were that team that walked there like, who are these men? I mean, they were just a big, strong group of kids that happened to play baseball. So that was a lot of fun, and it's amazing what something like that will do for you professionally. It's created opportunities that I never would have dreamed of, simply because you don't know who knows you. You just know who you know.
Yeah.
And like today, I'll tell kids, you guys walk through life with blinders on. You have no idea that there are people that know you because you don't know them.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the most valuable life lessons I ever learned, is that always make sure that you're putting your best foot forward when you're in the public eye, because if you don't, inevitably that's going to come back and bite you in the behind.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because everyone has their own opinion of you based on what you do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everybody's perception of you is their reality. So if you're trying to provide a good impression, you just need to put that, your best foot forward every time when you have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I used to tell Josh all the time, hey, it doesn't matter how good you are at something. If you're a jerk, people are going to think you're a jerk. Talent doesn't matter. Personality, approachability, and how you interact with people, that's what means something. Those are life skills that you have to be successful, whether it's in the business world, in your personal relationships with your family, whether it's your kids, your wife, your parents. Those things are the things that are important. And if you're good at something, then celebrate that, but that's not the end-all, be-all. Make sure that you're a good person first. Everything else will take care of itself.
True. So, did you play any sports in high school? I'm guessing you did.
I played football and I played baseball. I ended up playing baseball at Kellogg Community College for a couple years, then entered the workforce, and then went back to school to finish my teaching certificate later. It was a great experience for me. I got to meet a lot of great people, played against a lot of good competition, and it was just a different time. You didn't have all those travel opportunities that kids today have. So for us, a typical baseball season in youth league wasn't 35 to 40 games like you'll see some kids play now.
Yeah.
It was 10 games.
Yeah.
But the difference being, we didn't have Xbox, we didn't have PS5, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
So we would get turned loose at 9 o'clock in the morning, or kicked out of the house at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we would just play all day. So we played baseball, we played wiffle ball, we played football. Whatever the season was is what we played. So we had a little vacant lot across the street from where I grew up in Hillsdale, and all the neighborhood kids would meet at the park. Mm-hmm. And so this park has been a vacant lot for 40 years, since we moved there in 1978. Yeah. And now there's a fence going up. So I'm not sure what's going inside that fence, but it was kind of like, wow, 40 years, that was just been a vacant lot where kids could go and play. We had dirt spots where the bases were because we played all the time.
That's the real Sandlot, baby.
Yeah, it truly is. We had a hedge that was left field, and when you're younger, that was the home run fence because we were playing wiffle ball there.
Yeah.
It's probably 65 feet away.
Yeah.
And then there was a sidewalk in right field that nobody went the opposite field anyway because we were all right-handed hitters because the fence was shorter. And then eventually we had to use the high wire that was above the hedgerow. The hedges when I was a kid were about 3.5 feet tall. And when we moved out of the neighborhood finally, those were about 15 to 20 feet tall. They were somewhere in that range. So it's just funny how things change over years. But I go back to, we just didn't have the technology at our fingertips like you guys do.
Yeah.
We didn't have those distractions, so we just went out and we played. We fought, we played, we bickered, we complained, we got dirty, we got hurt. We rode bikes everywhere. It was just a different time where you could do things safely and not have to worry about the same things that kids have to worry about today.
Yeah.
They were there, but you didn't have the media and you didn't have the awareness that you do now covering those type of events that happen.
Yeah. Wait, so when you played football, I've always thought, 'cause since nowadays football is obviously way different, with like the safety rules and all that, and then like back then was it just like more like they just didn't like really care about it much? Like was it more like off the hook?
No, I would say. I mean, you still had your basic fouls that would get. I mean, you still had your holding. You still had your personal fouls for dumb stuff and face mask.
Yeah.
I think the big thing that has changed over the years it used to be spearing. Using your head to tackle.
Oh yeah.
So they called it spearing, which is still a foul, but now it's like it's evolved into targeting and illegal contact, and it was. Everything trickles down. So in football, everything trickles down from the NFL to college to high school.
Yeah.
And I've officiated, high school and college for roughly 18 years, and in high school for 25. And it's funny how you'll see something on Sunday, and then 3 years later, that rule change will be in college, and then 3 years later, it's in high school.
Yeah.
It might be slightly different, but if you look at the code of rules, the NFL and high school are most closely aligned. College is kind of off by itself. So we had only 4 officials, which I realize that we're getting back to that now because there's a shortage of officials. Which, by the way, if you ever want to make decent money, you're always going to be in demand.
Yeah,
that's a way for you to make some decent money. Always be in demand. So we had 4 officials. They worked on the field, not at the sidelines. It was just. I actually have some old video that I've been meaning to try to bring in. It's on VHS. It's not like Huddle.
Oh, really?
It's not digital. It's a videotape. And it's funny, we sat down and watched it. Josh and I did a couple years ago, and it's like, you can't really see much. You can barely see the blurbs, and it's light and it's dark. And it was well lit that day because we were actually playing at Hillsdale College when they had AstroTurf. Not field turf, but the real AstroTurf where it would burn you.
Yeah.
It was great when it was wet out, not so much when it was dry.
Yeah.
So it was really well lit, but it was still just really grainy, and it's like the uniforms stunk. They were terrible.
Yeah.
They were ugly. They were gaudy. They didn't have that shiny, sleek appearance like all the uniforms today did. And of course, they were half shirts. You didn't have to tuck them in. So I would say over time, the game itself has changed a lot because everybody ran the football then.
Yeah.
Very seldom, and if you had a team that passed a lot, it was usually because they just had phenomenal receivers and a quarterback. And we've had some good ones. The conference that we played in was called the Twin Valley Conference. And it's be like the I-8, so it's like Harper Creek and Marshall. The teams that Lumen is playing right now in Northwest and Western, it's that conference.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was Sturgis and Lakeview and Harper Creek and Coldwater, and then Albion, Hillsdale, and Hastings. So it was a football conference, and it was a baseball conference. I mean, you had big, strong kids from all of those other schools, and we weren't.
Yeah.
We just didn't have the weight program that some of the other schools had in place at that time.
Yeah.
Same thing that we're trying to do here and building here. They have had that in place since the early 1980s.
Yeah. The legendary Donnie Baxter in that football team. Wait, when you were coaching over in Hillsdale, did you hear about like around like Napoleon around that time, like how good we were?
When I was in high school, Napoleon actually came to our 4-way scrimmage.
Oh, they did?
It was like Hillsdale, Napoleon, Northwest, and I forget who the other rotating school was, but it was like those 3 mainstays. At least my freshman and sophomore year, I can remember those 2 scrimmages vividly. One was at Northwest and one was at Hillsdale College. And I just remember the green and white jerseys, and they would get after you. I mean, they would just literally get after you. And that was actually probably in the time of, I was late 80s, so I mean, Mr. McComb was coaching then.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Mr. McComb was coaching then. I don't know if Mr. Baxter was here then yet or not, because this would have been like 86 and 87 that I'm thinking about. So,
oh, man.
Long time ago, 35 years ago.
Yeah. So
it was you kind of heard about Napoleon, but you just didn't really know where it was.
Yeah.
I guess later, I mean, Hillsdale and Napoleon matched up a couple times, I think, in the playoffs. And then in baseball, the year that we won the state championship, we beat Napoleon 9-8 in the regional final. Or I'm sorry, in the regional semifinal.
Dang.
In order to make it to the regional final. Mr. McComb and I had a few battles. I think I hold the edge, but he's a Hall of Famer.
I heard like his baseball coaching career was like insane.
Well, he's won 400 games and I've won 200. So he definitely was in it for the long haul. And they had some really good teams. I remember the first time that we played them. I was in the spring of 2000. And they were ranked number 1 in the state in Class C. We played them down to Hudson, and they beat us 7-6. And I took that as
Dang.
kind of like a moral victory.
Jeez.
Almost beating number one.
Almost beat the number 1 team in the state, but at the end of the day, he went out there. But I think I got him the next couple times we played. So,
Man.
and that was just a regular tournament. I think other time that we faced them, it was either in a district game or in a regional.
Yeah. Man. Isn't our baseball field named after him?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that, and I was like,
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time. Still comes up, takes care of the field. Still enjoys doing things like that. Planted the little trees in the outfield. Hopefully someday they'll grow to be big trees along the outfield fence.
That
Yeah.
still looks so cool.
It will.
Yeah.
You know, when they get there, it'll look cool.
We definitely have one of the best fields in the conference.
I think so. I think a lot of that goes to the testament that he put a lot of time in. Coach Moore put some time in with it. I think everybody chips in. I know Mr. Bradley's put some improvements out there that have also enhanced the facility.
He's always got his hose out there spreading
Always,
it down.
I'm telling you
It's-
what, there's nothing like watering your dirt when you're a baseball coach.
Yeah.
You don't water the grass because that grows on its own, but that dirt, you got to keep it nice and soft.
Is Mr. Moore still coaching?
Still coaching, as far as I know.
Is he JV?
No, he's varsity.
He's varsity.
Oh, he is?
Yeah,
Then what's Blanchard?
Blanchard's
He's
JV.
JV.
He was
Oh.
varsity assistant, but this year he got promoted.
Oh,
Last year.
Little shake up.
yeah. Because last year I just saw Blanchard. I didn't see Moore at all. I was like, what happened to him? I don't know, because all I saw was Blanchard. I thought he took over the varsity spot last year.
No, he's been a varsity assistant. He was the head JV last year. Maybe someday when Coach Moore hangs it up, Coach Blanchard
Oh,
will
I
slide
don't
in.
want. I don't want to think about that day. The legend himself is leaving.
I don't see him
I don't think of that.
quitting coaching baseball anytime soon.
No, I don't
Things
think
change,
so.
people change. You know, life happens. Who knows?
True.
You know, I don't know what his plans are. Yeah, I think as long as he wants to do it, he's going to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's been 17 minutes. Do you have to go at a specific time?
You never know what crisis is going to pop up next at the middle school, so I probably better get back.
That's true. That's true. Knowing what we went through, that's very true.
Appreciate you guys having me on today.
Thanks for having
All
us.
right. Appreciate it. Yep. See you guys.
In baseball.